We are live on Facebook. This is the November VandoJam, and my name is Andrew Hadro. I'm representing Vandoren, USA. I'm here in the New York City Vandoren showroom studio, and I'm very pleased tonight to have two excellent musicians with me. These are both Vandoren artists and fantastic saxophonists who play a whole ton of different styles, jazz and other things they're going to talk about. So I'm very pleased to have with me both Lakecia Benjamin and Teodross Avery. Lakecia's in the East Coast with me in the New York City area, and Teo is out in the Los Angeles area. So we're bi-coastal tonight. And I'm going to hop off this video, but I just want to introduce these two musicians and welcome them to the November VandoJam. And I'm very excited to listen. I want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, put them in your Facebook feed and I will pass them on to both Lakecia and Teo and they will answer them. Otherwise, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to these two musicians. All right.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Pleasure to be here with Vandoren. What's up, Lakecia?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How you feeling?
Oh, man, I'm feeling good, like everybody else, hanging in there.
Good. So today we are focusing on a different area for some people. We're talking about making the gig, right? Make the gig. As somebody who lived in New York for 15 years, that's where I met Lakecia. It was all about making the gig. And, for me, making the gig means playing the part in the style of the music that you're in and making sure that you do your homework ahead of time so that you fit into the musical environment, right? Stylistically, what's happening with respect to your rhythm, your tone, your approach and improvisation. So that's what making the gig means to me. What does it mean to you, Lakecia?
To me, it's I guess developing all the proper skills you need to be available for the gig outside of just the talent that it takes. So being prepared, showing up on time, having the right clothes, being professional, being knowledgeable about the music, practicing and understanding it and learning it before you get to the gig, taking the time in your practice day to have a good set of repertoire and multiple different genres and styles so that when you do get called up to play something, you're versatile. It doesn't matter what style it is, you know the tune and you can play, because you can't sit in and be heard by anybody if you don't know the actual tune. So things like that, just like getting your professionalism in such a place that it matches your talent in such a way that you're undeniable.
That's a great point, being undeniable. For me, when I used to, I'm not freelancing as much as I was before. When I was in New York, that's how I made every dollar I made was through freelancing. From playing studio sessions on hip hop records and playing with live, of course, jazz bands, organ groove bands, rock bands. Every time I stepped into a musical situation, I had to really know what was going on in the music and how I would do that. Well, number one is listening really, really intently. Like what is going on in the bass and drums? What's going on rhythmically? What's going on in the keyboards? What kind of voicings is the keyboard player using? And then, thinking about like, okay, if I'm playing a session as a horn player with a section, really like thinking about writing or playing the music around, say, the vocal feature. If there's a lyrical thing that's going on, every vocalist hates for horn players and instrumentalists to play on what they're singing. It's like
Yeah, so
words, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, they're like, it's like, it doesn't work. So,
wait a minute. So I got what you're saying, Tio. So
you know what I mean?
let's bring this in a little bit, because I think one of the things we're going to be talking about today, we're going to play a little bit in a second, but one of the things we're going to be talking about is the difference in being fluid in multiple styles and genres of music. So being a fluid, well-educated, well-rounded, soulful jazz player, but also being great in the pop scene, being great on the R&B scene, being great on the gospel scene, being great in an orchestral setting, having the skill set to do multiple variety of things. So I think to start this off, first of all, like I said, my name is Lakecia Benjamin, but I also I play Vandoren Red Java.
Yes.
Size 3. I use this is a V5 with an 835 opening, And right now I have the optimum ligature on with the plate is the little wavy one because that's my favorite. I think it gives me enough freedom and room to move. But I have sometimes switched to the plate that is flat with the 4 little dots on the side. But those are my favorites. I've been playing. Sometimes I do move down to a 2.5 if my chops are sore. Before I was on the red Java, I used to play the blue box 2.5. But I found that when the red Javas came out, they really opened up my tone and my sound. I've been with Vandoren probably 8 years now. But even when I was coming up 11, 12, just starting, I got started on Vandoren reeds. Luckily, I was studying with the saxophone player Wes Anderson, and he was big on Vandoren, so he put me on that. So maybe we should play something so they can hear the tone and the sound of the saxophone and stuff.
Yeah. Let me just go ahead and say the equipment I'm playing so I don't forget, because if I don't say it now, I probably will forget. On tenor, I'm playing a Vandoren T6, which is the 1950s model, medium size. And it's a nice even tone. I can play across the horn nice and smoothly in a very like controlled, I don't have to fight my mouthpiece, which is great. I get to focus on what I'm playing. Anybody who's been playing, sometimes you're fighting with your mouthpiece and your reed. It's not a good place to be in because you can't create good music like that. You can create rambunctious music, and sometimes that's appropriate, right? In certain situations, you do want that tension going on. But for this setup, it's all about being smooth and being able to play what I want when I want. I'm playing Vandoren Java reeds, size 3. I've been playing Vandoren since high school on my reeds. So, and I haven't changed. I've been playing the green box, the Vandoren Javas since high school, which is, it's a good look to be able to find something and lock onto it and not have to change. And then I'm using the Vandoren V16 ligature, same as Lakecia's, the metal one, with the 3 different plates. If you guys don't know about the 3 different plates, you get different tones because of the timbre of how the plates are resonating in your mouthpiece. So when you're playing, it's right on the reed, and each one is designed a little differently to give you different resonance. So that's why I want to get that in before I forgot, because I want to get a brick thrown at me.
Why don't you just play your tune? Play your tune so they can hear the sound of what you got going on.
Okay. So I got this song that I wrote called Bad Attitude from my New York days. I'm sure some of you can relate. Some of you New Yorkers got bad attitude. I'm not talking about you, Lakecia. You're a nice lady. But I wrote it for a certain segment while I was in New York. So it's a song written over a second line rhythm, and it's a funky little thing. So let's get into it. And here we go. Bad Attitude. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All
Okay,
right, soul brother.
I started catching the Holy Spirit up in here. My bad.
That's the spirit of the jam, man. That's
You
cool,
know-
man. I was gonna play a blues, but I'm gonna switch it up since you went that route. Give him a little something different.
Oh, cool.
All right, so I'm gonna play. This year I released a CD for the Coltrane's, for Alice Coltrane and John Coltrane. I know Teo got a Coltrane project too, so he can relate to this. I'm gonna play kind of like a Latin-ish version of John Coltrane's Spiral, and I'm gonna play a little bit out front so you guys could really hear the tone of the sound of the sax and the reed and the mouthpiece that I'm using, and how versatile it is. Cool.
going in. I like that arrangement.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's like the first that album, Giant Steps, the first Coltrane album I bought, or really the first album I bought on my own. You know how you have like people who,
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
so hearing it in with a Latin beat, it's really cool to hear it. Like the switch up. That's real fly. I like that. Yeah.
So, Tio, I know we're just talking about our setups and stuff, but maybe you could tell the people some of the people that you've already played with
Okay.
that kind of show the versatility you have. I mean, if for you guys out there that don't know, the first time I actually saw him not in person, I was a young kid watching movies with my mom in the house, and we were watching one of my favorite Spike Lee joints, Love Jones. And they get to a scene where they're doing poetry and there's a live band there. Is that Tane on the drums or Carl Allen?
Carl Allen. Yeah.
Carl Allen's on the drums. I'm like, oh wow, Carl Allen. Then I hear a saxophone. I said, what's that? So I took mental note, like, oh wow, I want to be in a Love Jones movie playing the sax, rocking.
Yeah.
And then I go out one day on the scene, and I'm hanging out at a jazz club at a session, and I walk by and I said, oh man, that's the Love Jones sax man. My man was in the Hollywood movie, so I was actually, it was a good way for me to be at a young age to get exposed to jazz.
Oh, cool.
And understand that, most times people always tell you, oh, if you're a jazz musician, you ain't gonna make no money. You're not in it for the money. But I never subscribed to that and believe that. I always believe that the money is what you make, where you make it, and what your dreams are. So I learned quickly that there is money to be made and there is exposure to be gotten. So maybe you want to tell them a little bit of some of the stars you've been playing with,
Oh man. Thank you for the intro. My gosh.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Do I have to use PayPal, or can I just hit you when I go to New York?
Let's talk about it after the pandemic.
Okay, after that. Okay, cool. Yeah. So for me, I was one of those. I've always been one of those musicians who wanted to play good music, and good always came before music. So for me, that meant various styles. Just wanted to make sure I was playing something good, something that I liked, something that was real and meaningful. And that attitude has put me in a lot of great situations with great musicians of all styles of music. I signed to GRP Impulse when I was 19 and put out 2 albums, and in 1994 and 6. And the second one got me into the hands of, through my label, of course, Impulse at the time, to the director Theodore Witcher, who was making the movie Love Jones. And so we flew out to Chicago and did it. Nia Long was in it, Lorenz Tate for the movie buffs, and we recorded in one day. And I left, and it was cool, and I had fun. And then it's been the greatest gift that has kept on giving. And I've been like, let me tell you something. For anybody out there who's playing, Lakecia, you already know this, I don't have to tell you anything, but for the people who are, looking at us going, what should we do? What should we do? You get an opportunity to play in a movie or a TV show, take that opportunity, because it's going to give you exposure that you would otherwise have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get. Never look down upon that. There's some musicians who look at that as being some form of selling out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't subscribe to that at all. If someone likes how you sound and how you play music and how you look, and they want to, bring you in on a project, you should do that. When I did this project, I just had a good attitude and did it because I liked the idea, and I always liked movies and TV. And every year, in February, Black History Month, or also around the time of Valentine's Day, this movie gets played all over the country, and people end up giving me props for playing music because of the movie, not giving me props for the movie because I play music. With a lot of people, they don't really know what we do. We're talking about that the other day. Like, people don't really lock on, people who are not musicians, they don't lock on to what we do with music and our tones. So a lot of times a good way to connect with those people, and it tends to be a much bigger audience, is through visual media. So if people ask you to be a part of something, take that opportunity and have a good attitude and do it. And you never know where or who will listen to and remember you and your music because of what you did in the visual world.
That's right.
Okay, so Love Jones played with Lauryn Hill, recorded and wrote songs with Amy Winehouse, Joss Stone, Mos Def, the rock band Train, Pat Monahan, Matchbox 20, the rock band. Dee Dee Bridgewater recorded on her album Dear Ella. That was a good project. Got 3 Grammys. My God, haven't got a Grammy since. So that was a great thing to be a part of. And my own music, and you know, I would be wrong if you know how it is when someone asks you, Leela James, Soul Sister. Oh my
I was
God,
getting ready to say cornbread. That's where I first heard you.
Leela James. He said Leela James.
Yeah, I was at
Yeah,
I
Leela
went to your
James.
show. She was playing. You were playing.
Was it VH1?
I can't remember where it was. I was young, but I remember I'm a big fan of hers.
Oh, she's such a fabulous singer, soul singer. She's coming right out of Mavis Staples and Etta James and Aretha Franklin. Real soul singer. Very hard to come by now. That real soul music.
Hmm.
And real meaningful lyrics. Man, who else? And then jazz players. What? Rodney Jones, Carl Allen, Randy Johnston, um, Brian Lynch, Roy Hargrove. Yeah, just been that was part of my New York time. And I always talk about that time, and I think about it fondly because when I was about 14, I went to a master class that Bob Mincer was doing. You know how when you're in high school and you do those jazz festivals and everybody comes from the whole state, and we did that, and Bob Mincer was He played, and then he was speaking. After he played, and one thing and I joke with him when I see him because at the time, this is funny. Now this is a young moment. You have your young moments where something happens and it just doesn't click right. Check it out. So Eddie Harris made an album called Smoking.
We got the same birthday.
You and Eddie Harris?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh man, I got a story that I want to tell you. I can't tell you on camera, but it's because it's too comical. But he had an album called Smoking. The album, and for me, here I'm a kid that's playing sports, listening to hip hop, playing rock guitar, jumping bikes. I don't know musician lingo, right? So I said, I saw my dad had this album since I was a baby. So I used to see this album, and then I went to this master class that Bob Mincer was giving, right? So I raise my hand, 14. I say, Bob. All right, I didn't say Bob. I know him as Bob now. I didn't say Bob. I said, excuse me. He's calling me. I said, it's good that you've been, I like that you've been playing a long time. I said, but how long did it take you until you were smoking? And he said, and he stopped and he looked at me and was like, smoking what? So it was a funny little moment. At the time I was 14. I didn't think it was funny because I didn't get that, right? I wasn't smoking anything, but I referred to the Eddie Harris album, and I was like, how long you've been smoking? So one thing he told, this is the point I want to make, that he told me, and before I got to New York, but when I was 14, he said, him as a musician, and he as well as Branford and Brecker and Kenny Garrett, they all fit into this. But what he said was, in New York, and you know this, Lakecia, you know what I'm saying, but in New York, every time you get a call, you get up and you go do the gig. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what style of music it is. It doesn't matter, even where it is. You know what I mean? When you get the call, you go do the gig. And so what that taught me was, be ready to play different styles. And since I came from listening and loving different styles of music, that was an easy step for me to go into. I was never taught, don't like, music, don't like this style of music. If I didn't like a style of music, I just didn't like it. It wasn't because like some bitter musicians told me not to like it. I was never with that. And I still am not. And I would encourage you not to be down with that either, because you can overlook some really great things in your music life with an open mind, even in terms of what not to play. You can be taught what not to do through listening to so many different things. And so I went to New York with that attitude, and I tried to get in every musical situation possible with my horn, and that helped me so much because it taught me, like I said, what to do, what not to do, how to play differently behind different musicians, because you can't play the same way in every musical situation. I mean, you can attempt to do that, but the flip side is that you won't get the call back. You really do have to fit into your musical surroundings and try to accentuate it. Really try to lift it, so there's no loose kinks in the chain. So, keys is they're rocking, bass is rocking, drums are rocking, right? And then they look at you and you're rocking with them, and it's like a nice foundation that's evenly yoked. There's no loose ends, no cracks in the concrete. So that's something that has been important to me, playing different styles. Go ahead, Lakecia, talk about that.
Okay, so I guess we just go through the chain of events of things. I started off actually playing as a Latin player. I started off playing merengue and salsa bands. Bachata didn't have too much alto saxophone, but that was my main starts. And then I moved on to jazz. Some of my first teachers were, like I said before, Wes Anderson, Patience Higgins. I was studying with Steve Wilson. I was studying with Jesse Davis. There was a time when I was in college that I made it a point that all the alto players that I listened to on their CDs that I thought that are now Vandoren artists with me, that I thought were awesome to study with them. Vincent Herring, Gary Bartz, Kenny Garrett. I just kind of went through the list of them. If you were like the lead alto or the top alto on the scene, Dick Oates, I was gonna at some point reach you. After that, my first, I would say, jazz gig that gave me, what do you call it? Not a break, but a chance, was Clark Terry. Clark Terry put in and had a band of, he called it Young Titans of Jazz. He wanted a bunch of young people in the band. So I started with that. Then I moved on to Rashid Ali, and then Joanne Brad Keane. And then I moved to David Murray. And then somewhere along that time, I was kind of just walking down the street around the Village Underground. And the guy screams out to me, "Hey, sax player, I need a sax player." And I kind of ignored him like, that's not what you're going to get today. And
in New York, right?
Yeah, he kept following me and asking me, gave me his number. Said, I'm gonna do a session. I want you to come down to this session. It's gonna be, big stars and celebrities there. And I was like, I'm not going. I took the number and left. And then the next day, somehow in the middle of my practice, I noticed it was the time of the session. And I was like, you know what? I'm just calling him and see what he's talking about. I called him. Long story short, I ended up going down there, and the session was for a guy called Corte Ellis.
Okay.
So Corte is actually Missy Elliott's cousin.
Okay.
I played with Corte. We did a bunch of gigs, and a lot of the gigs, they weren't like, celebrities in the band or anything. I don't know who he was, but there were a lot of celebrities in the audience. Terrence Howard's out there, Gabrielle Union, Diddy, Jay-Z. All our audience members were like that. Right. Corte was supposed to, pay me and have the money, but he actually never, ever, ever paid me. Not so good. Corte called me for another gig, and I got a quick lesson about getting the money before the gig, because he had actually hired me I was in charge of the horn section as well. He had hired me. He liked me so much. I played with the band. He was like, it'd be cool if you had other horns. So at that time, it kind of gave me my first break in arranging for horns and getting horn sections together. He didn't pay me the money, so I kind of said I was out of here. And one day I went down to his studio to kind of let him know, you're going to give me my money. And Missy,
I like that.
And Missy Elliott was there. And she was like, why are you tripping? And I was like, I want my money. Good. And she asked me how much was it, and I told her. And then she was like, you play sax. I need a sax player. And I'm like, man, you can't have a sax player, and he still owe money. And she was like, let me hear you play. So I'm playing. She's like, you got more horn players? So she's like, call the other horn players. I called them down here. I was like, come down here and play for Missy so we could get paid. So, long story short, I ended up playing with her. And then, and I don't, Tio, you can probably, relate to this. I feel like in that world, in jazz, is word of mouth. One person sees you play at Smalls, you're probably going to get a lot of gigs at Smalls. And in hip hop, one person sees that you're competent in getting a horn section together. And I used to have dance moves for my section, everything. They saw us playing. They said, who's that? And I said, that's Lakecia, and it's her section. So she started, because they saw me playing with her. If it's good enough for Missy, it's good enough for me. Yeah. So then I started playing with Ludacris. So then I started playing with Alicia. Then I started moving through the field of them, just as kind of like the horn MD arranger. And that's when I discovered I could do my jazz thing, but I could also run a horn section and write these arrangements. And I discovered quickly that with Corte and Missy, we're playing stabs, dancing around, nothing too hard, and I probably got $1,000 for that 15 minutes. And for me, that was a lot of money at the time. So I kind of stuck with that, and that kind of let me know that not to look down upon things, but it was from playing those pop gigs where it opened up the door to like the Stevie Wonders, to the Princes, to all those other artists I was playing with. And at the same time, I was on a bill playing with Stevie, but Herbie was there. Herbie was there. Wayne Shorter was there. So I got to meet my heroes, in genres that I didn't even know. It was through meeting Herbie and Stevie and all of them that I got to meet Kendrick Lamar. So it's like, people think that music is so not connected, but it's like, you'd be surprised, especially with the grounds. A lot of people are like, or whether you're into Robert Glasper music or not, you cannot ignore the bridge that is being gapped between popular, artists from the 90s, 2000s, and on with popular jazz artists from the 60s, 70s. That is happening. So my recommendation is, even when you're learning the styles and moving through the genres, something that's helpful to me is it's important to be harmonically advanced, but to be rhythmically in tune with the culture and the style of the music. So if you're moving between jazz and R&B and funk and whatever you're doing, maybe I'll play an example. It may help, but to rhythmically be in the pocket. Like when you look at bass players in hip hop and R&B, they're in the one. They're on the one. They ain't on that 2 and 4. They're on the one. So to really understand, I actually have some clips we could play of Maceo and some other stuff, just so people could get an example of just the difference. Like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play a little something right now. Just not with any music, just so you can see the kind of difference of me playing in a funk style. But I think it's important versus like you saw me and Tio. He played a blues, I played a jazz tune. You could hear the phrasing and the harmony was a lot more advanced. But I think I'll play something just like simple too, like Chameleon or something, just so you can see the phrasing. That's another thing that good I think I like about personally. If we want to Vandoren plug about the A35 V5, I'm able to switch between the styles and not have to change my reed, not to have to go to a metal mouthpiece. Yeah. I'm able to project directly through the saxophone I'm using is of course not a Vandoren saxophone, but it's a Yanagisawa. This is an AW01. It is actually 3 different types of brass. So it is a solid silver neck. The body of it is a regular bronze lacquer, but the actual keys and plates of it are gold. And the resonators inside are a solid silver as well.
Bling bling.
Yes, I like the woman in me likes a little pop, but it does change the sound a little bit. So. Hope that gives a good example of just more of a staccato, trying to almost trying to be in your own groove. It really helps rhythm sections if they feel that you're in the pocket with them, smiling at them. I think at all times, best albums to hear horn players improvise over funk or pop. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you're an alto player. Maceo Parker, My First Name is Maceo, is a whole DVD collection, and they have a soundtrack, and it's with the JB Horns. Fred Wesley's on there. Pee Wee Ellis is on there, who is now a new recent friend of mine. Hey T, you mind if I play a little bit from that album?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna play a little bit so y'all can hear that joint because Maceo Parker's no joke when it comes to that pocket. I'm only gonna
Oh, no
play a
question.
minute or so.
Yeah. Maceo! Maceo!
That DVD changed my life.
Maceo!
Man. Hearing Alto play, he goes. It's all about him. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, all about him. It goes through Augusta, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, where
yeah,
they from.
documentary. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's a documentary. The Rebirth Brass Band is on there with him. George Clinton's on there with him. And they going through his life and talk about. They got clips of him with James Brown. He's playing with his band at a festival in Switzerland, and they got clips of that whole thing. So you could hear them performing or how the alto responds with an organ player. I like, of course, I like Kenny Garrett, the way he approaches funk and whatever. That's just sorry, it's not. You know how it is. Yeah, I don't like to say it because people like to clone him, but that's a. Who's another big one for you that you would think that you would tell? David Sanborn. People sleep on him. All his stuff with all his stuff with Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald. Who's the soloist on all that what's the name of that group, man? With Bernard Purdy on the drums. Oh, I can't remember the name of the group.
Group with Aretha's band. Aretha's band had Bernard Purdy on drums.
No, it's a different style of music. I'm trying to. It's a whole group there. I can't think. I'll think of it soon. Maybe you just tell some of your.
Okay.
Favorites.
Well, for me, when it comes to groove playing, there's a few different players. So a lot of the really good groove players were also session players. So people like King Curtis.
Amen.
Session player for Atlantic Records and other labels as well. But he's the one playing on Aretha Franklin's Respect. Also, I like Brecker on Cameo's album Single Life. I was listening to that album before I played the sax, because I was a Cameo head. So for me, it was like I'm on Cameo, reading all the lyrics and stuff. And I used to hear that solo. I didn't even know who Michael Brecker was. I was like, Cameo, man, yeah, this is grooving. And then I found out later, I was like, oh damn, that's Brecker. After playing for like 10 years. I like the way he plays.
Branford got some too on those pop records. Branford.
I was gonna say Branford. Yeah, Branford. The way he played with Sting.
Kirk Whalum.
Kirk Whalum is
when the Whitney Houston days and the pop Whitney Houston days.
I wouldn't call him a funk player, but R&B gospel, you got to check out Kirk Whalum.
I would just take the R&B. I'd be like gospel.
Yeah, gospel.
Gospel really, and some pop. Like
singing style, vocal style saxophone playing. Got to check out Kirk Whalum. Maceo is a big early influence for me because I'm a James Brown head. So, and Maceo on alto and tenor. He can get busy on tenor as well. One thing I noticed about that track you played, when he was playing, and I want the younger players to check this out. And if you don't mind, Lakecia, if you could play it again at this point in the beginning of that solo, when he comes in, he's playing off the snare pattern. Right there, right there, right there, right there. And the reason why I pointed that out is because, like, when you're dealing with funk music, you really got to deal with that snare drum and that bass drum, because that's what's laying down the groove. And that's probably about, I'd say, at least 50% of the musical, like, style that's happening. It's coming from the bass and drums. And the way he just locked in on that, he just clearly lets you know he knows everything that the drummer is doing and what he's playing on that snare. He's popping that snare and he popped right with it. Boop, 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 boop. And like really when you're playing that style, putting that your body into it and really getting on that and like making it like a vocal moment, you know, like when you're with a really good vocalist and they know how to, like, you know, say on the tag or on the last, you know, the chorus that keeps going around and they, you know, they start taking it to church or, you know, getting funky and they say, you know, that's like your opportunity to get up in there and be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're gonna look at you. This is the thing, Leela James is gonna look to you and see if you can mess with that, right? So you know, you can take all that stuff and get in there. You know what I'm saying, Lakecia? Get on those drums, baby. Because when the drummer is hitting, you want to get with that. You want to get on that, man. And drummers love it when you jump on their rhythm.
They do. The rhythm section, I'll say this for horn players. I don't care what style it is. They notice immediately when you lock into the patterns that they're playing. When you're not using them just as a carpet. When you're paying attention to what they're playing, the piano player plays something, you answer back, they'll look up directly in your face. And the number one thing you want to do to succeed is have the rhythm section on your side. If the rhythm section's not on your side, you be trying to build up for 10 minutes. And you ain't going nowhere. Until the drummer says I'm going to build up with you, you're in the same place. So it's important.
They'll keep that bait, right?
It's important to know that we're on the same team. So even when they see you walk into the stage, they're like, oh, Lakecia, I can't wait for her. You know, so even when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. Because unless you're hiring them, they may not go with you. And some of your experiences are not based on the bands you hire. Some of the experience are you sitting in. And you have, you know, from the moment you're setting up your horn on the side of the stage to the moment you get to that mic to convince the band to be on your side.
Yes, indeed. Oh, I want to add one more name. Well, a lot of names, but Grover Washington. Big influence.
Hank Crawford.
Yeah, that's right. The thing about Grover, though, that's really, you know, in regards to what we're talking about with Grover, he's so smooth. He's not going off the drums. This is one of the few dudes who's going to let the drums rock, and he's going for his, like going more for a vocal lyrical quality. You know, he's not popping with that snare, you know, but he's so smooth with the way he approaches playing, you know, and his lyricism in the music, you know.
If you guys have any questions about the experiences we're talking about or the things we're talking about or the equipment that we're using or any ideas, you know, because we're you know in our last 15 minutes, if you want us to answer them, this would be a great time for that. We're going to keep talking anyway and vibing, but if you're out there and you're just curious what we plan on, what we using, how T.O.'s getting that pop sound in his thing, how he's getting that, because a lot of people think that, you know, the equipment it helps with the sound so much. It's important to have working equipment that is making it easy to do what you do, but the equipment can't do what you're not doing. So if you have to learn how to sing, like on the saxophone, people should hear you play and feel the song in your playing. The notes are not enough. The page is not enough. They have to feel the spirit and everything coming out of you, and then they take an interest in you. Almost like you have your own brand, your own sound. And people don't go, oh, I need an alto player. They need, I need Lakecia. You know, that's an important thing. Establishing yourself where people need you and not what you do. So otherwise, you're going to be on somebody else's gig. You got to come in all black. Now they call you, they say, hey, Lakecia, just show up to the gig, and they know that I'm going to bring a vibe. I don't got to be in black. I'm going to wear it. And, you know, if somebody's wedding, okay, that's what it is. But I'm talking about for the more, like, you know, artisty kind of things.
Respecting you as an artist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to like just make it clear this is what I'm like. You know, when you think of the people we're talking about, Charlie Parker, Jackie McLean, John Coltrane, Kirk Whalum, Maceo, Grover Washington. Soon as you hear their name, you hear a sound in your head right away. You don't have to. You don't wonder. Oh, who? Even if it's Kenny G, you hear the sound right in your head. So it's important that when people hear your name, they automatically can hear you playing and know if it works with their experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I want to play some groove sample. Um, I'm gonna play a song that a lot of people have played if you're in the live on the live music scene, but I want to play it because there's something in here I want you to really check out, and that is space. Space using silence, not space as in what's in behind my head, but using silence. Um, there's a real art to doing that. Sometimes it comes to, sometimes it comes through in composition, and sometimes it comes through in solo. I want to play this Grover Washington, Mr. Magic, for the purpose of talking about space and how to build up a solo. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just listen to the space that's happening, not only in the composition, but then how he approaches his solo. Let me pull it up. Hopefully I don't get, yeah.
YouTube
we don't want
ads
that.
beat Facebook
Okay.
ads.
Okay, yeah, we don't want that. Let my man talk about his commercial, and then I'm gonna pull it up. But if you don't know, this album is Grover Washington. Mr. Magic is a popular song from back in the day. But there's so much music in this that helps us understand how to play with space. Now check this out. Here we go. Now he's not playing off the drums like Maceo. Different approach, more of a lyrical approach.
Ooh, snare drum boy.
That sounds good, right? More like a vocalist. Check out the arrangement. Every 4 bars, a new instrument comes in. Across the bar line. Space. Now that was just the melody. He inserted a little bit of his, his improvisational approach in the melody, and how he didn't fill up all the space in the music. And truth be told, and Lakecia, you can back me on this, the gigs that we've done outside of jazz, you got to know about this approach, because this is coming from vocalists, how vocalists sing melody, that kind of thinking, right? So it's like they're gonna sing, they're gonna let you hear the lyrics, and like most vocalists, if they're really good at singing lyrics, they're gonna sing the lyrics and then fall back. They're not gonna do so many runs that you forget the melody of the song. They're gonna sing the lyric, lay it down, let you know what it is, And then a lot of times we get asked to come in and play saxophone behind that or put horns together behind that. And in that situation, you really have to respect what's going on vocally or melodically and be able to really morph into who that is in the music. And so someone like Grover was a master of knowing how vocalists approach music. And it has a lot to do with why he reached so many people in the way that he played. So I always want to think about, the other side of it, that sometimes it's not full throttle drums, bang, bang, bang. But sometimes it's about being a vocalist and relating to the music vocally.
Ray Charles was actually a alto saxophone player.
That's right.
That's him on that beginning of the, what's that, Nighttime? Nighttime's the right time?
Yeah, yeah.
That's him playing that solo out front.
Okay, I see big band stuff. I've seen that where he's playing alto with the big band.
No, that that whole thing. The nighttime, night and day.
Okay, I didn't know.
That's him opening that song up.
Okay, and he's opening with a melodic thing.
Yeah, on alto. He is a solo, but at this point, like if a singer called "Nighttime the Right Time" as an alto player, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play the whole solo because that's how it is. Because it's almost like a theme, huh?
He's approaching it like he's saying.
He plays that intro right there, and then he comes right in singing. The nighttime, night and day is the right time. Night. It's a blues, but it's kind of like I think also some helpful tips to realize, because people keep saying, how do you play multiple styles? How do you play pop? How do you play R&B? How do you play gospel? How do you play jazz? How do you play Latin? It's important to realize that in the history of the music, if you start at the bottom of the pyramid, they all start from a group of Africans trying to express their experience. You know what I mean? So if you're dealing with the original field hollers, the original spirituals, the original call and response of trying to communicate and the lack of drums, and then that moves into the blues, and then it moves into jazz, and then it moves into rhythm and blues, and it moves into gospel, and it kind of keeps spreading out on that pyramid there. And then I think it's easy to see that all the styles are connected, and the things that are changing are slight harmonic things and real significant rhythmic things. And I think if most people can approach the music from an experience and a cultural place and start it at the bottom, even when it's time to learn solos, if you want to learn how to improvise, start out by making statements, field hollers, call and response, and then move that way. It's much easier to get to bebop and Charlie Parker if you can make a statement, because it's hard to just be to just be playing meaningless notes if you don't understand that somebody came up with those notes to scream out across the field, "Run!"
Yeah,
what I mean?
Run
right now.
Go ahead. No, I don't.
You got it right now.
Oh, so with the field hollers, someone might be listening and say, well, what is that in the music? It's a lot of it. I call it the sliding blues scale, because it's not a fixed kind of like, an 8-note thing. You're talking about. Wow.
Yo.
So, you get that feeling, get in there, and there's, you gotta be open to playing pitches that are not always A440. There's a lot of sliding that's going on between the pitches. And I guess you could say it's a glissando if you want to use like a proper term.
They have an exercise for that too.
What is
like some people, for students, they tell them to like, okay, start on B, right? And slide down to B flat without going to the B flat, just with your
embouchure.
Yeah, with your embouchure, and then you can slide down to A from the B, and then go A, B flat, almost like a Johnny Hodges kind of. I don't want to set up the mic again. You'll be able to hear me through this.
I can hear you. Yeah. Let me just play on the mic.
Just the. But I don't know for tenor, but for alto players, because of Johnny Hodges, that's our existence for a good year or two, going
Mm,
through those.
mhm.
But they really help in terms of understanding how to emote to people. Because even if you just do that on stage by yourself, even if you didn't play, if you play a melody jazz song, they're gonna clap for you. Come on, you start out with like that without the band, the audience immediately is gonna go, well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you've got them right away because they
It's
can
that
feel
vocal
that.
quality, right?
They
That
they feel
vocal.
that more than they feel like even just the songs we are playing. That's cool. It's important just to come out with something that grabs people.
Hmm.
Oh. So I think we're running out of time here. I was about to read the feel free to wrap it up.
Feel free to wrap it up. You guys did great. Oh man, I'm reading. Oh, that was a message I
Hey
wasn't
Tio,
supposed
maybe just tell people how to reach you on social media. Once again, remind them of your Vandoren stuff, and
to. Yes, yes, yes. Like I said before, I'm playing the tenor Vandoren T6 1950s metal mouthpiece, medium, and Vandoren Java reeds size 3 and the Vandoren V16 ligature. You can reach me or check me out on my website, which is teodrossavery.com. I also want to let you know that I just released an album last month in which I play the music of Thelonious Monk. It's called Harlem Stories, the music of Thelonious Monk. And, we play, one of the most, modern geniuses of jazz from the 20th century. So, check that out if you get a chance. And also I have a project called Life in Music where, we digging into some funk and hip hop and underground house music, really going in on
mm.
that. So, we have both things happening. So I want to thank you all for having me and Vandoren for inviting me and Lakecia for being my host partner and letting the folks know what we do. You
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
you could have backed out on me, Lakecia. You could have said, no, you know what? I saw that guy in Brooklyn and, he doesn't know how to walk in a straight line. I'm not rolling with Tio. No.
I can't forget anybody. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. I know your host solo, but no, my name is Lakecia Benjamin, predominantly alto saxophone, but I play all the saxophones. I'm using V5 alto saxophone mouthpiece with an A35 opening. My predominant reeds are red Java 3. I love those reeds actually. I sometimes move to the blue box 2.5, but the red Java 3, I feel like it's a good mix between having that classical stiffness, but a little bit of flexibility. Um, I think on all my saxophones I use the same V5 mouthpiece. I have a new project out that came out this year, and it's called Pursuance to Coltrane's, which is a tribute to John and Alice Coltrane. 6 John Coltrane songs, 6 Alice Coltrane songs. You know, I released a single this Christmas, coming up for the Christmas season to get everybody in the holiday spirits. I have my Instagram page is Lakecia B, and my Twitter and all that is spelled like Lakecia. So like Lake, the government, LAKECIAB, and that's how you could find me everywhere. Profiles are open. I have videos of me playing stuff. My website is LakeciaBenjamin.com. Any inquiries there? And like I said, I want to thank the Vandoren staff and for all they do for supplying these reads in the pandemic. All the tools and arsenal. For me, their products are more than just amazing. There's a lot of reads out there, but there's no point playing them if you don't love them, and that's the good thing that I like about this is quality merchandise, and you can't beat it.
No, you cannot. Great, great equipment.
All right, so we out of here. I don't know how to get out of this, but we out of here.